Hey everybody, my name is Jen the Caffeinated Crafter and welcome to my channel. This is a channel where I typically talk about all my cross-stitch projects, but today's video is going to be part of a series that I'm doing on my version of a tutorial. I am certainly by no means an expert in cross-stitching, but I have been stitching for over 35 years and I've picked up a lot of different methods over the years. And I know a lot of stuff, so I wanted to share it with you. I'm going to be trying to keep these videos as brief and as concise as I possibly can, so that you can get the information that you need and move on with your life. Today's video is going to be about how to kind of look at a pattern and see what you need. This video is going to be how to basically kind of kit up a project, as opposed to purchasing a kit. For example, this is just, I have not opened this yet, but this is a kit that I purchased off of 123 Stitch. It's from Designworks, and this was a kit. It comes with the fabric, I didn't know it had beads. The fabric, the beads, a needle, the floss you need that I have to sort, and the pattern with the directions on how to stitch it. So this is a kit. So when people, if you are unfamiliar with different terms, that will be in a different video. But if you're unfamiliar with different terms, this is a kit. When people say, I like to kit up my own stuff, that means that they purchase the pattern separate and they source their own fabric, floss, accoutrements like beads and treasures and buttons and whatnot. They have their own needles and everything like that. Like if you buy this as a beginner stitcher, literally the only thing that you would need to buy is a pair of scissors. And if you feel like you need to have some sort of stabilizer, like a hoop or a Q-snap, or a frame of some sort. This one's pretty small, wouldn't go in a frame. But if you wanted to use a hoop or something to help you stabilize, you would need one of those. Or you could do what a lot of other stitches, not a lot, but I'd say a good amount of stitchers do, and stitch in hand without a frame or anything like that. That will be in another video, those different things. But this video is going to be how to kit up a project. So how can you tell what you need for a project? I'm going to give I have a few different patterns here that I'm going to show you how you would find out what you need. So say you saw this in the store. I'm gonna take it out of the plastic so it's easier to see, but this is from Puntini, and this is called When I Think of Easter. Now, if you saw this in the store and you were like, oh my God, this is so cute, I wanna stitch this, what do I need? If you saw it physically in the store, all you would have to do, because it would be in the bag, all you would have to do is flip it over, and on the back, it tells you the stitch count up here. So it's 112 by 51, which means that it's 112 stitches wide from left to right, and then it's 51 stitches tall from top to bottom. That comes into play later when you're trying to find out your fabric. What she used for her model stitch was a 36 count country mocha, vintage country mocha by Zweigart. And then she said that she used DMC, 2 strands over 2 linen threads. That will be in another video. But she basically did what people say is 2 over 2 on a 36 count vintage country mocha from Zweigart. So that means that she had 2 strands of floss over 2 fabric threads of this 36 count. If she did it over 1, this thing would shrink down by half. So on the back, this tells you basically what she did what the model is stitched on, and then this is the different DMCs that you need to complete this project. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It looks like about 12 DMCs unless I missed one. But this tells you what DMC colors you need to complete the project. If you don't like DMC and you like CXC or Anchor or Sullivan's, or there's other ones out there. I use DMC because it's easily accessible to me, and I have been purchasing DMC when it goes on sale at Joann's for years. I have so much floss from them. It is ridiculous. I probably will not have to buy floss for like 3 years unless it's one of the colors I don't have a lot of and I end up actually running out. But if DMC is too expensive where you live, you can go to different online stores like AliExpress and Temu and buy CXC. Or if you see somebody on FlossTube using CXC or one of the other cheaper alternatives, ask them where they got their floss from. They may tell you one of the big box shops from China, or they may have another source that can get you CXC without going through AliExpress or Temu. I have so much DMC that I don't do that. Hey Gracie. But you can certainly do it that way. From what I've seen on other FlossTube channels, CXC is a very good alternative to DMC. It's a lot cheaper. I think that the floss is slightly thicker, so it has a little bit better coverage. But I mean, the cost is really what drives people to using CXC, and they have basically the equivalent colors of DMC. Like you can get the CXC 904 and it's the same color as DMC 904. Anyway, but this tells you what colors floss DMC that you need, and it gives you their recommended fabric. Do you have to do it on that fabric? No, you don't. You can do it on whatever fabric you choose to. If you wanted to do this pattern on a 14 count brown Aida, you could do that. You just need to know the dimensions of the piece to know how big of a piece of fabric that you can get. I will go over that real quick right now because I feel like it is pertinent to this, but we will go over it again in another video. So if you wanted to do this on a 14 count Aida and you have no idea what size fabric to get, you will see some people online saying, oh, this pattern is 27 inches by 36 inches. Can I do this on this count fabric? No, I don't want to know those inches. I want to know the stitch count, the height and the width of the stitch count. So all you have to do is, if you know what size fabric you want to do this on, because you're like, my eyeballs are old, I can't see 36 count fabric. I want to do, and I don't want to do it on linen, and I don't want to do it on even weave. I want to do it on Aida, and I want to do it on 14 count because that's what I can see, right? So you just take the width, and the only thing that you need to know is how big of a border of fabric do you want around it. A lot of people, I would recommend that most people will do a 3-inch border. So that would be 3 inches of fabric on the top, the right side, the bottom, and the left side. And a lot of people use 3-inch borders. Some people, if they use frames, like scroll frames and stuff, they might even go to 4 inches to make sure they have that extra fabric to go around the frame, like the scroll frame or even a Q-snap. Depending on what I'm doing, I will do a 2 to 3 inch border personally. But if you want to know how big of a piece of 14 count Aida to get for this piece in particular, you would take the 112 and divide it by the stitch count, because the number for the fabrics tell you how many inches or how many stitches are in 1 inch. So a 14 count piece of Aida, if you took a ruler and put it on the Aida and you put the end of the ruler, or even just a tally marker on, like, you know, one end on a hole, and you counted over 14 squares, it would stop at the 1 inch mark. A 28 count piece of even weave, if you did that, you would have 28 inches, or 28 squares in 1 inch. So that is what the counts signify. 56 count fabric, 56 count linen, there's 56 stitches in 1 inch. That's what that means. So if you want to know how big of a piece of fabric to get, you take the stitch count and you divide it by the count of the fabric that you want to use. So what was it? 112. So you do 112. There we go. And you divide it by 14 because that's the size fabric that we want to stitch this on. And the 8 is the size of your finished piece, like the actual stitching. In order to make sure you have enough fabric, you have one more step that you have to do. You have to add in the amount you want for the border. So for example, say you wanted to do this with a 3-inch border all around. You have to take the 3 inches from one side and the 3 inches from the other side and add that to this, which would be 6. 3 plus 3 is 6. So plus 6. So your fabric needs to be 14 inches wide. Now to calculate how tall, we're going to do 51. What did I say? 14? Yeah, 14. Okay. Okay, so we're going to take the 51 divided by 14. And we're going to, now the 14, not the answer that I just got. Let's not get confused here. I'm saying 51 divided by 14 for the count of the fabric, not the answer that I just got. That was just a coincidence. I did not plan that. So 51 divided by the 14 for the count of the fabric that you want to use. And then you're going to add 6 for the top and the bottom for the fabric border. So plus 6. And it's 9.6428574. So I always err on the side of caution if I can help it. It's 9.6. Fabrics generally come in anywhere from whole inch to half-inch counts. Now, I would probably do 9.5 and be like, okay, I just need to make sure, you know, because that's plenty of room. The border gives you a little bit of wiggle room, right? But if you're a newer stitcher, you may want to round up to 10. So you would need a piece of fabric that is anywhere from 9.5 to 10 inches tall. So for this piece on a 14 count piece of Aida, you would need a piece that is 14 inches wide by, they might come in 9.5. You might be able to get a 9.5 by 14, or you might have to do 10 by 14, or you may have to buy a bigger piece of fabric. You just need to know that your fabric needs to be at least 9.5. Well, no, let's say 10, because if you're a newer stitcher or you're not super comfortable with that going down, then you would need to go up to 10. So you would need a piece of fabric that's 10 by 14 inches. And then if you had to get a larger piece and you wanted to cut it down, you could just measure out 10 by 14, do your cut, and then be on your merry way. Just make sure that you start it in the correct orientation so that it would end up, so that your fabric, let's say this was 10 by 14 inches, you would need to make sure that the 14 inches was this way and not this way, because then your piece won't fit. So that is one example. I did not turn my light on because it was so bright in here from the sun, and now the sun is going behind some clouds. And I feel like it's getting darker. Maybe that's better though. I'm looking at myself now, so I'm not looking at you, and I don't look like death warmed over from being washed out. Okay, let's look at another example. This one is from New York Dreamer, and it's called Home is Where the Fabric and Floss Are. I have not done this piece. If you watch me regularly, I have not stitched this piece. I just bought the pattern. I have not done it yet. So I have no idea what kind of fabric I'm going to stitch it on. But if you flip it over, this gives you the information you need to stitch it. And I know it's hard to see on camera. So we're going to take this out of the bag. And it's still going to be hard to see because of the background they have on here. But this tells you up here what fabric they used. They used Grace Notes fabric, who has very good fabrics, by the way. I highly recommend them. I don't own any, but I've seen a lot of them. I have a lot of friends that use them. But they used, for this piece, they used a 32 count fabric in the color Bradley from Grace Notes fabric. That's what that looks like. I probably would do that. And then the floss that they used is a combination of Weeks Dye Works and DMC. This tells you the design size. And, oh, they have a YouTube channel. New York Dreamer Needleworks, huh? So this tells you here, the design was stitched with 2 strands of floss over 2 threads. And then they tell you what color to do the different back stitching. There's back stitching right here. And there's back stitching, where's the other one? The back stitch on the sewing machine. Oh, a little bit of back stitching right there. And this here tells you what floss you need. So this is actually a really good example because this gives you the floss that you need. So WDW is Weeks Dye Works. Weeks Dye Works and the color Molasses. The DMC is obviously DMC. Then you need Weeks Dye Works Louisiana Hot Sauce. DMC is down here, and then Weeks Dye Works, of course you would use one that I always forget how to say it. Isla Morada. Anyway, but this tells you what flosses you need. So it's a combination of Weeks Dye Works and DMC. If this said GA, it would be Gentle Arts. If it said GAS, I think that's like Gentle Arts. Oh, it's like Gentle Arts Shaker. CC is usually Classic Color Works. But it will tell you, that way it can differentiate. I was looking for one pattern in particular to show you because it used Weeks Dye Works and Gentle Arts. And I wanted to show you the different abbreviations for them. But say you wanted to do this, but you either don't want to use fancy floss, which is perfectly fine, or you couldn't afford fancy floss, which is also perfectly fine. You want to do DMC. This designer was oh so gracious enough to give you the DMC equivalent to Weeks Dye Works Molasses. So if you don't want to use it or you can't use it, they tell you, well, if you don't want to use it, that's fine. You can use DMC 3031. If you don't want to use Weeks Dye Works Louisiana Hot Sauce, you can use DMC 349. So this one, they do give you the equivalent to what colors you can replace. The DMC equivalent to the fancy flosses that are used. You don't have to use fancy floss if you don't want to. It's really bugging me that I can't find that one pattern in particular because it had the different ones. And then I'm going to show you a Mirabilia because this one has fancy stuff on here, just real quick. So say you decide to tackle a Mirabilia, right? This one I have not started. This one is October Opal Fairy. So you're like, man, I really want to do something fancy. Listen, there's the thing with the fancy pieces is It's just extra, the stuff is what makes it fancy, and the appearance of it. It's just cross stitching. Don't be scared. It's just cross stitching. So say you want to do this, but you need to know what to get. They do give you a recommended fabric. You don't have to do it on that fabric. Again, I showed you how to calculate what size fabric you would need, but the model was stitched on a 32 count ivory linen by Witchelt. And then they also give you an alternate fabric, oh, you can't see that, of 16 count ivory Aida by Witchelt. You can do these fancy things on Aida. You do not have to do them on linen or even weave if you're not comfortable with it. It is possible to do it on Aida. That is okay. So they even tell you, the model was stitched on 32 count and the alternate fabric was stitched on 16 count. And this over here tells you what DMC floss is required. And then over here, this tells you that you need to get Rainbow Gallery Petite Silk Lame braid in these colors. Now what I would do for this is I would go, if I lived closer, the closest LNS, which is local needlework shop, the closest LNS to me is about 45 minutes to an hour. I actually have two. I have one in St. Petersburg and I have one in Largo. Those are the two closest ones to me. My favorite one is in Ocala, which is 2 hours away from me. But my problem is that I work Monday through Friday. They're closed on Sundays. So my only day that I can go is on a Saturday. And really, I can only go every other Saturday because I have my kids every other Saturday. So I'm not going to drag them to a cross stitch shop. Oh my God, they would either be so freaking bored or they would be like, oh my God, these are so cool. And they would want me to buy everything under the sun. And then they would make comments about how much money I spend in the shop. So I go when I don't have them, if I go. So if I pick this up and I wanted to get started on it pretty quick, I would not wait to go to an LNS. Plus you run the risk of you go there and they don't have what you need. So then your next thing would be to go to an online shop. My favorite shop online is 123 Stitch. It typically will have what I need. And if you order over $75, shipping is free, I think still. But it's fast. Like I ordered the fancy floss and the beads I needed for Chocolate Understands. You're gonna see this probably way in the future, but I had this piece that I showed on one of my floss tubes and I needed the fancy floss and the beads. And I showed the pattern and I'm like, well, I'm not sure if I'm gonna start it because I need to order the stuff. The next day I ordered it, which was on Saturday. I ordered the stuff I needed and 123 Stitch had it to me by Tuesday. So it's fast and it's, decently priced and, yeah, so I would personally order the stuff I needed from them. That's just me. Not everybody likes 123 Stitch for various reasons, but I like them. So I would go on 123 Stitch's website and I would type in rainbow. I would actually try first, so I don't have to type all this in. I would type in Rainbow Gallery SP18 and see if that popped up. If not, then I would delete that part and then I would start typing in all this and then SP18 to get the specific color I needed. And then I would add it to my cart. And then I would delete the 18. I would put in SP24 and then SP47 because and then just add those to my cart. This right here is a DMC blend. A blend is one strand of one color, which would be 754, and one strand of the other color, which is 758. You take the two of them together and use that instead of two strands of one color. Then you would also need to get Kreinik number 4 braid in 011 HL. that's like high luster or something like that. And then you would also need the Mill Hill Treasure, Crystal Treasure of 13054. You need, and then the 3 in the parentheses, that's how many of those that you need. I have no idea what it is. And then you also need Mill Hill beads in all of these numbers. Some stores do sell bead packs. Some stores do sell bead packs where they get you a pack, and then like this one right here, this bead, you need 2 packs of that. So some stores do sell bead packs of the Fancy Ladies, and you get a box or 2 boxes of that one, but you get a box of beads for a pack of beads for everything that's called for this kit. So that's how you would find out what you would need to start a pattern. That's kind of a basic rundown of how do I find out what do I need to get for the pattern. I think I'm going to stop this video here, and because I kind of gave you all the basic what do I need to start a piece. Yeah, like basically how to read the back of the pattern. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section down below. I'm going to do a different video on how to actually read the pattern and get started with cross stitching. So if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comment section down below. And if you're not already subscribed, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and the bell to be notified whenever I post a video. Again, any questions, ask away. And if it's something simple, I'll go ahead and address it, respond to your question. If it's something that needs to be in another video, I will either direct you to the video if it's already made, or I will make a video about it. Okay. I hope that this video was helpful to anyone who does not know how to do that stuff. And if you do know how to do that stuff and I missed something, please let me know so that I can kind of keep that aware for future videos. And take care, happy stitching, get a lot of stitches in, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.